Hi, my dear students. Hope all of you are doing good. Anyway, I am fine here. Okay, this is the second half of the first chapter. For the ninth standard, the first chapter is computer system. This is the second part of first chapter, that is remaining half of the chapter. In the first half, we studied about the characteristics of the computer as well as the limitations and applications of the computer. And in this half, we are going to discuss about the computer system. A computer system can be considered as the combination of hardware and software which process data to convert into a meaningful information. So the system means it's a combination of the hardware as well as software. Hardware means the physical components and software means a set of programs. Set of programs means it's a set of instructions we are giving to the computer for further process. Let me discuss about hardware. So computer hardware is the collection of physical parts of a computer system. I already said hardware means it's a physical components. Whatever the physical components a computer have, that is referred to as hardware. A computer have monitor, keyboard, mouse. These are all the hardware of the computer. Computer software. So computer software is a set of program. I already discussed set of programs means set of instruction. So a computer software is a set of programs which is designed to perform a well-defined function. Well-defined function is we have lot of functions to do in a computer. So most of the functions will be done by the set of program, that is software. We have a lot of examples of software, computer software, that is word processor, software development tools, database management system. These are all the main examples of the computer software. When we discuss about the computer software is categorized into three sectors. First one is system software, second one is application software, and the third one is utility software. System software means operating system. Okay, we can take an example as operating system. Operating system is a system software. So operating system is the platform for doing the various tasks. Example, like operating system means it is act as an interface between the user and the computer hardware. Then next one is application software. Application software for doing the various tasks, various kinds of applications will be there. Example, word processor. Word processor for type the documents, for edit the documents. Database management system for storing, retrieving as well as managing the data, huge amount of data. Then graphics, then we can say spreadsheet, then presentation software. These are included in the application software. Then the last one is utility software. Utility software means, example, we can say antivirus. Antivirus is useful for detecting the virus. Whenever if a system have the virus, for detecting such kinds of virus, we are using the antivirus. So three kind of categories are there: system software, application software, and utility software. Let me discuss about the topic operating system. So an operating system is an interface between a computer user and computer hardware. So it acts as an interface. It will provide the communication between the user. We are the user. So it will provide the communication between the users and the computer hardware. So the interface can be character user interface or graphical user interface. Character user interface, in the keyboard we are typing the letters and we are giving the input to the system. Right, so that is character user interface. Through the characters we are interfacing with the computer. Then graphical user interface, through the mouse we are clicking each and everything in the monitor. That is graphical user interface. Okay, so an operating system have various kinds of functions: file management, memory management, process management, handling the input and output, and controlling the peripheral devices such as disk drive and printers. These are all the main functions of the operating system. This picture shows various operating systems: Windows, Android, Apple. These are all the various operating systems we are using in day-to-day life. Let me discuss the topic functions of a computer. So there are four basic functions of a computer: input, processing, storage, output. So keyboard, mouse, scanner, trackball, these are all the input devices. Whatever the input we are giving, then it goes to the control unit for processing the data. After processing, it will store in the storage unit, and in the same At the same time it will show the output also. Output through monitors, touchscreens, printers or speakers. The functions are accept the data given by the user, that is input. Then process the data according to the given set of instructions, that is processing of data. Then store the data, that is storage. Then finally give the desired result according to the user's requirement, that is output. The first function is input. A computer accepts the input given by the user. Whatever the thing given by the user to the system as an input, a computer will accept it. It can be in the whatever the input given by the user, it can be in the form of instruction or it can be in the form of data also. Processing means the data will be converted into unorganized way into a organized way. The process of converting unorganized data into a meaningful information according to the user's instruction is called processing. Storage and retrieval. The input is stored in the memory of a computer. So whenever we require the data, we can retrieve it from the storage place. Okay. Last function is output. So the final result will be available in the monitor. We can take it in the monitor, we can take the hard copy also, that is printout. So in the monitor, whatever the output is showing, that is soft copy, and if you take the printout, that is the hard copy. The next important topic is the basic organization of a computer. So a computer system has three important parts or three basic organization, that is input unit, CPU and an output unit for performing different kinds of functions. Look at this picture, okay? It's the basic organization of a computer. So the first input unit, whatever the input given by the user to the system, that input will go to the CPU. The CPU consisting of three units, memory unit, control unit as well as arithmetical logical unit. Control unit, it will control the data. Memory unit will store the data. In arithmetic and logical unit, it will do the arithmetical as well as logical calculation. That processing is happened in this area, that is CPU. After that, the result will be goes to output unit, and the data will shown in the whatever the result, that will be shown in the output unit. The next topic is CPU and its components. So CPU, central processing unit. CPU consisting of three main units, that is memory unit, arithmetic and logic unit and control unit. Memory unit. Okay. Memory means it will store something, right? It will store something. So the memory unit is the principal storage of the computer. It stores both data and instructions. So the memory unit is linked with other parts of the computer and send the data when it needed. Okay, whenever a user requires some data from the memory unit, the data will be fetched to the monitor. Okay, that is memory unit. The memory unit has some categories also. Categories will be next slide. This is the two category of the memory unit, internal memory and external memory. By the name itself we can understand what is internal, inside. Something is inside, that is internal memory. External, something that is in outside. So internal memory and external memory, there are two types of memory unit. Internal memory is referred as the main memory of the computer. Okay. Internal memory means it's a main memory of the computer. Primary, or otherwise we can say it's a primary memory. So primary memory is a place where data and programs are stored temporarily as long as they are being executed. So the data will be stored temporarily, not permanently. So whatever the data in the internal memory, the data will be temporarily. The another name is primary memory or main memory. Okay. So internal memory is also have the category of two. What are the categories? RAM and ROM. We know RAM means random access memory, ROM is read-only memory. These are the two types of internal memory. Okay, let me discuss about the first category of internal memory, that is RAM. So the acronym for the RAM is random access memory. It's a type of internal memory, internal computer memory. So that can be accessed randomly. Okay, the data in the memory we can retrieve it randomly. That's why random access memory. Whatever the information we enter into the computer goes into RAM and remains there as long as we are working on an application. So RAM is a volatile memory. Why it's a volatile memory? When the power is off means the data will lose. That's a temporary memory. That's why we are saying RAM as a volatile memory. So RAM is found in servers, PCs, tablets, smartphones and other devices, just printers also. Okay. So a picture of the RAM is in this slide. This is the image of a RAM. Several types of RAM is also there. Okay. In the next slides we are going to discuss about the several types of RAM. So an example for RAM is the blackboard is like a RAM. Let me consider the blackboard or class board. Okay. So it's like a RAM. We are overwritten the new datas, right? We are overwritten the new datas in the board. We are writing new things in the board, right? The same way in the RAM also we are overwritten the new datas. So that's the best example of RAM. So these are all the types of RAM: DRAM, SRAM, SDRAM and DDR. DRAM, dynamic random access memory; SRAM, static random access memory; SDRAM, synchronous dynamic random access memory; and DDR, double data rate memory. So let me discuss about the first type of RAM, that is DRAM, dynamic random access memory. It's a type of random access semiconductor memory that stores each bit of data in a memory cell consisting of a tiny capacitor and a transistor. So that both capacitor as well as transistor is based on the metal oxide semiconductor, that is MOS technology. Don't get confused with all these technical terms, okay? So simply we can say RAM is a volatile memory. Volatile memory in the sense when the power is off, when the power goes, then the data will lost. The data is temporarily stored in the RAM, in the memory. Okay, so it's need to be refreshed periodically in order to retain the data. So it's slower than SRAM. The DRAM is slower than SRAM. The next one is SRAM. Okay, SRAM is static random access memory. Static random access memory. So it's faster than DRAM. Compared to DRAM, it's faster and more expensive also. So SRAM is used for a computer's cache memory and as part of random access memory, digital to analog converter on a video card. Okay. So the main point is it is fast and expensive. It is faster than DRAM and it's expensive. Okay, more expensive. It does not need to be refreshed. In the case of DRAM, we need to refresh periodically. But in the case of SRAM, we don't need to refresh the data. Okay, that's the next thing. That it will also lose the data when the power is off. When the power is turned off, it will also lose the data. Third type is SDRAM. Okay, synchronous dynamic random access memory, that is SDRAM. So SDRAM is a form of DRAM semiconductor memory. It's another form of dynamic random access memory. It can run faster speeds than conventional DRAM. It is more faster than DRAM. Okay. So SDRAM memory is widely used in computers and other computer related technology. It's a generic name for various kinds of dynamic random access memory that are synchronized with the clock speed that the microprocessor is optimized for. So this tends to increase the number of instructions that the processor can perform in a given time. So SDRAM, it uses synchronous interface to transmit large amount of data at high speed. If we want to transmit a huge amount of data in a very high speed, we are using the SDRAM. It's faster than DRAM, but it's a form of DRAM semiconductor only. It's another form of DRAM semiconductor, but it's faster than DRAM. Okay. The last type of memory, RAM memory, is DDR, double data rate memory. So it's an advanced version of SDRAM. That means it's a fastest version of SDRAM, more faster than SDRAM. So it's DDR, SDRAM is sometimes togetherly called SDRAM second. Okay, DDR, SDRAM is togetherly sometimes called as SDRAM second. Can transfer data twice as fast as regular SDRAM chips. Normally, how the SDRAM transfer the data in a faster way? By in SDRAM second, it will transfer twice. It will transfer the data twice faster than normal SDRAM chips. Okay. So this is because DDR memory can send and receive signals twice per clock cycle. In a single clock cycle, it will receive and send the signal twice. The last slides we discuss about the RAM and the types of the RAM also. So the next type of internal memory is ROM. Okay, the acronym for the ROM is read only memory. Read only memory means it's a non-volatile memory. Non-volatile in the sense we can store the data permanently or semi-permanently. When the power is suspended or when the power is off, the data will be there. So that is non-volatile memory. So almost every computer comes with a small amount of ROM containing the boot firmware. So ROM stores program as the bootstrap program, which starts a computer by loading an operating system. That's a bootstrap program. And the basics, a computer by loading an operating system, and the basic input or output system, that is BIOS. Okay. This is ROM, and the image of ROM is also in the slide. So the types of ROM. Let me discuss about the types of ROM. Okay, there are 5 types of ROM. PROM, that's programmable read-only memory. EEPROM, erasable programmable read-only memory. EEPROM, EEPROM. Okay, electrically erasable programmable read-only memory, flash memory, and mask ROM. These are all the 5 types of ROM. Okay, let me go to discuss about each types of ROM. The first one is PROM, programmable read-only memory. So the programmable read-only memory means that whatever the information we recorded in the PROM, that cannot be erased. Okay, whatever the information we recorded, that information cannot be erased. It's permanent. The next one is EEPROM, erasable programmable read-only memory. So erasable programmable read-only memory, whatever the data we are recorded in the EEPROM, the data we can be able to erase. We can erase the data. So exposure to the UV light, we can erase the information recorded on EEPROM. The third one is EEPROM, electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. So we are using the electric signals. Okay, electric signals can erase the information recorded on the EEPROM. The data, whatever the data recorded on the EEPROM can be erased by using the electric signal. The next type is flash memory. Okay, it's a specific type of EEPROM. Flash memory is similar to the EEPROM. It's a special type of EEPROM which maintains the stored information even without a power source. Okay, it will store the information without the power source. That is flash memory. It is the main thing. It is a type of the EEPROM. Otherwise, we can say flash EEPROM. The last type is mask ROM. Mask ROM is a memory that is manufactured with its contents. It is used in the computer systems that require long-term sustainability. In the previous slides, we discussed about all the internal memories. 2 types of internal memories we have, ROM and RAM. RAM have several types, ROM also have several types. Now I'm going to discuss about cache memory. Okay, cache is pronounced as cache. Okay, cache memory. So cache memory is a special high-speed memory. It's a high-speed memory that is also a type of physical memory, which can either be inserted on a motherboard or made a part of the CPU. So the memory, cache memory, we can insert in the motherboard or as a part of the CPU. It's also a physical memory. It's a high-speed memory. Cache memory is a high-speed memory. Let me discuss about external memory. External memory is also known as auxiliary memory or secondary memory. Okay. External means what? It's a outside. So it's not inside the CPU. It's not inside the motherboard. So external memory is on outside of the system. So we are considering the external memory as a secondary memory, or the another name of the external memory is auxiliary memory. Therefore, the data has to be stored separately in a secondary storage device to make it permanent and accessible for a longer duration of time. So external memory is a volatile memory. We can say it's a permanent memory. So it's a volatile memory. Some commonly used external storage device, we can say CD, DVD, pen drive, hard disk, floppy disk. These are all the external memory devices. The next topic is units of memory. So data stored inside a computer in term of bits. Bits means it's a short form of binary digits. Okay, a bit can be 0 or the 1. The value of the bit can be 0 or 1. So a byte is a group of 8 bits. While a nipple is a group of 4 bits. First we can start it from nipple. Nipple is a group of 4 bits. Then a byte is a group of 8 bits. So computer memory is generally expressed in terms of byte, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, etc. is there. So this is a unit of memory. These are all the units: byte, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte. These are all the units of the memory. In this image, it's showing the relationship between the units. Okay. So bit is a 0 or 1. So 8 bits together form 1 byte. 1024 bytes together form 1 kilobyte. 1024 kilobytes equal to 1 megabyte. 1024 megabytes equal to 1 gigabyte. 1024 gigabytes equal to 1 terabyte. Most of you know up to terabyte, right? So 1024 terabytes make 1 petabyte. 1024 petabytes makes 1 exabyte. 1024 exabytes makes 1 zettabyte. Okay, so 1024 zettabyte equal to 1 yottabyte. These are all the relationship between unit. Okay, the next component of the CPU is ALU. ALU, arithmetic logic unit. So ALU comprises electronic circuits that can execute arithmetic and logical operations. So ALU, along with the different registers, stores data or keeps information regarding the latest action performed. Whatever the latest action performed, it will store the data and keeps the information about those latest actions. Okay. It usually performs 4 types of arithmetic operations, mainly addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. So ALU also performs 3 different logical comparisons which are equal to, less than, greater than. Okay. It can compare the letters, numbers or special characters also. These are all the main functions of ALU. The next component is control unit, the last one, right? Already we discussed about the memory unit. Next we discuss about the ALU, and the final unit is control unit. So the control unit is responsible for managing the operations of CPU and guiding other mechanisms for the completion of specific tasks. So it will manage whatever the operations the CPU want to do. It will manage all the operations and guiding other mechanism also for specific tasks. Completing such kinds of tasks, it will give the guidance also. It collects the instructions from the memory and convert them into signals for controlling other parts of the computer. The signals transfer the data between memory and ALU or activate peripherals to perform input or output operation. This is the main function of the control unit. Okay, this control unit is responsible for managing whatever the operations happened in the CPU. This is the processor image. Okay, in this slide several types of questions are there. Short answer type questions as well as long answer type questions are there. Try to solve those questions. Thank you all. Try to go through the slides 3 to 4 times and take the short notes also. Read the slides carefully, and the next part will be in the next video. Go through the slides. Okay, thank you so much.